Alright, this is a subscriber login system. Let me show you what it does. So the login system is simply we are implementing so that we want an page to get restricted so that without logged in we won't have access to it, or we don't want to see unless we are logged in. So in this case the home is the URL that I don't want to access until I am logged in. So if I try to access the home, I am pushed back to the register page, give the message saying that you don't have access. So to have access you need to create an account. Let me just make this UI monk, my first name and last name UI monk, email also uimonk@gmail.com. so I'm setting the name and password also the same. So if I make a wrong password and click on register, you will see the password does not match is the error that shows up. So if I make the username and password same and make this accept and click on register, now it would say registered successfully. Let's just log in. So now if I click on login again, you see the validation saying that email is required and password is required. Actually this should be password. And if I type some random values and if I click on login again, there is a validation saying that login failed. So if I log in with the right username and password and click on login, I would have access to the home. Now I can log out from myself, and if I try to log in again, try to get to the home again, I won't have access and it says you don't have access to login. So this page also has validation. So let's just see how to create this. So for this I have used the Colorlib registration form template. I leave the link in the description so you can download and start along with me. So if you need to click on this download and it will be downloaded. If you're new to this channel, you can start learning Laravel from the playlist. So this playlist starts from the absolute beginner to the intermediate level. So in this case you are learning Laravel, so you need to get into that Laravel playlist, and here I have approximately 30 videos, and if you are a very beginner, I would suggest you to start from episode number 1 and reach till here. And now I can mute this, and right now we are at the episode number 30. So we have seen installing form validation, and we are at the stage where we are able to convert the HTML template into Laravel template and add validation, and then use the Laravel's authentication system and use the middleware to block the URL. So we at episode number 30 you can confidently say that what I've said previously, you can confidently say you can do that. So I would be upgrading this playlist every week, so enjoy the process. Now make sure your XAMPP is running, and let's just install the Laravel with the command. So we are going to name the folder as subscriber 10. So we have to get into the XAMPP cd XAMPP change directory htdocs change directory. Laravel projects is the folder that we have all our Laravel projects. So I'm going to name it I'm saying the composer and create a project, saying the composer create a project, and the project that you need to download is the Laravel, and name the folder as Laravel subscriber 10, and the preferred Laravel version is 8.6.3. and now we have to get into that folder which is subscriber 10. Subscriber 10, and inside that we have to install the Laravel UI package, and now we have to install the authentication package. And once these two are done, we have to install npm, and if you don't see the table in the end, you have to run npm run dev again. And now I could not see the table again, I just need to run the npm run dev again. Now it is installed properly. Let me run this in the browser with the command php artisan serve. and let me just open one more command prompt so that we can give the command without stopping the server. Cool. Now it says it's running the port 127, and you see, now we can open the Visual Studio Code by writing this command code dot, and it will take some time, but it will load your Visual Studio Code with the subscriber 10 folder in it. And by the time it loads, let's just open the XAMPP and create a database in phpMyAdmin. Start, and we'll give this database name same as the folder name. So here in this case the folder name is subscriber 10, and now the database has opened. Now click on new, and let's just create the database and call it as subscriber 10. So database, click on create, and now we have to link the created database in the env file. So here this is the database name. Since I am using XAMPP, this is the username, and default the password is blank for XAMPP. Now since that is ready, we need to create the controller, or we'll just convert the HTML into Laravel. So let's just open the episode 32. So this is how the HTML looks like. Now what you need to do is open your resources, views, auth. Here you'll have files, the login and register. So we have to remove both, or let me just show you by default what shows up. So if you click on login, this is the default login screen, and I think I have saved it mistakenly. So this is default login screen, and this is the default register screen. So now to just remove both, and what I'll do is I'll convert this HTML. If you just open this HTML in the Visual Studio Code, it's in the desktop, and here episode number 32, open the HTML, and you copy the whole thing and paste the login.blade.php and register.blade.php. Now if you search, the HTML shows up, but there is no assets. So what we need to do is, I have placed all the related CSS, images and font in one folder and named it as assets. So copy this assets and get into your Laravel projects. In this case it's subscriber 10. Get into public folder and just paste it. So once you place it, you have to link it properly. By this time it could load your CSS, but if you press Ctrl U, you will see the links are of relative. We want to make it what, the absolute way. So here in this case what we'll do is we'll use the Laravel function called asset, and ASSET, and it's a function, and we have to pass the URL here. So the same way do it for CSS, and if you make a refresh, you will see the absolute path. Hard refresh it, and I'm looking at the header. Sorry, I'm looking at the login page. Let me just go for login and press Ctrl U. You will see the absolute path. Now what you need to do is you need to copy the same thing and paste it into the register.php. Instead we can create a parent. So here in the auth folder, let's create a folder called layout, and inside layout we can have a file called app.blade.php. So what we will do is we'll just copy the whole thing again, and we'll remove the meat part. Here the meat part is this, and we'll have just the opening of body and closing of body, and in between we'll create a Laravel directory which is yield @yield, and we need to pass a passcode. In this case I'll just say container and we'll delete by keeping the mid part itself, and here we need to surround it with end section, and we need to pass the passcode here. In this case it's container, and we have to close the directive which is end section. We can copy the same and paste it in login, and this isn't enough. We need to extend the layout till resources we have access, sorry, till views we have access. We have to get into auth. Inside auth we have layout, inside layout we have app. So just copy this and paste it in the login.blade.php. Now if you search for login, sorry, it's not extends, it's @extends, it's a directive. Now let's just search, and here you go, it works fine. Now in case if you want to change just the title, you can do it again. Just copy the yield and just change it and give the passcode as title, and in the register we need to call the section, and since we have given the title as a passkey, we have to use that. And now the page here is register, so you can give register title. So just to show you, copy this and paste it here again, and here it can be login. Now now here you will see the title change to login title, and if I go for register, you will see register title. Cool. Just to show you the change difference, I have made this title, and nothing much. In the login we'll just have the username and password, sorry, email and password. We can delete the rest of the divs. We don't need confirm password, we don't need accept, we'll just need login, and button type equal to, of course, submit. Refresh it, and we have email and password login. The same way for the register, let this be submit, login and register. Cool, that's enough. Now what we need to do is we need to create tables. So let me just open notepad. Now what all things we need? We need first name, last name, email, password, and is checked. Cool, these are the columns that we need. So let's just create the database table. So here Laravel comes with some default tables. Let's get into migration, and you will see there are 4 files, and this file is related to the user tables. And now we need the first name. Instead of name, we can make this first name. We need last name, we need email, we don't need this, we need password, and we need is checked as a string. Now if you don't want, you can remove this. Now this is enough. Now we need to run the command php artisan migrate. Now these 4 files will be converted into tables. So if you click on database, you will see those files as 5 tables. So the table that we need to look at is the users, and now you will see the columns which we have modified shows a first name, last name, email, password is checked. And cool, that works. Now what we need to do is we need to create a controller, so that would be responsible for, so when I click on submit, you should see the data should get submitted somewhere. So the somewhere is nothing but the place called action. So the method is going to be by default post. Since we are using Laravel, then we need to use @cross-site request forgery, and let's create the controller. So the reason .70 here, you can name it as custom login, and for all the so for all these this R means the related functions should be there, and you will see in the HTTP app HTTP controller you will see custom login here. So now when I submit the data, all the data should get sent to register submit. So you know the default flow of Laravel. When there let's just create a name route in the register. So we'll be using the Laravel function called route. That's why Laravel syntax, and this is the name of the route. Now let's just call this name of the route or define this name of the route in the web.php, in the routes in the web.php. So whenever there's a call for this URL, let's get into this function and have the name as this one. So the function, the controller here is custom login, so in the web.php. So as I said, when there's a call for this URL, get into this function, and whenever some data are submitted, this data will be handled by this function. So all the HTML input will be accessed by here request $request, and let me just show the HTML that we have received using dump and die $request all will show you the HTML. If I click on submit, not login but register, click on login. So the post method is not actually it should be post. You know, the form we have mentioned it as post, and in the HTML of register page we can make this register instead of login. Just click on register. You see as of now only the token is passed because none of the input field have name. So this name attribute should match with the column name, last name, and this is email, and this is password. And for the confirmation password, the name should always be password underscore confirmation. The internet is gone, let me just connect it, and let me just give this name, and then we have password, and let's have the name for the checkbox as is checked, and value equal to y. Now let me get back to the page and click on register. Now you will see we get first name, last name, email, password, and confirm password as null, and is checked value. Let me just check this and click on register, and you see is checked value is y. Cool. Now we want to add the validation. We don't want the null value to show up, instead we'll have validation here. And now with the request that we get, we will make the first name as required, the last name as required, and email required, password required, confirm password underscore confirmation. You should make this confirmed, and is checked required. And now that's done, what you need to do is we are setting the request, so we are setting the validation. Now if you click on register, the function, you will not see the data that is being sent because the validation is stopping it. So let's just display the error. So @error @end error, and in between we can show errors first and then we need to pass the name. And this error also has the name attribute. The same way for all, we have to make this for email, and finally the checkbox. And let's just try clicking on register. You should see the first name is required, the last name is required. You might be wondering where this error is coming from. It's in the resources, it's in the lang, it's in the validation, and if you search for required, this is where it is coming from. Now refresh this and click on register. You will see first name is required, last name is required, and let me just type Vishal and click on register. You will see after validation the data goes away. So if you want to stop after submitting the value that should remain in the form, we need to have a value, and again Laravel function which is old, and we need to have the name here. And now let me just refresh and show you. Just type here your first name and click on register. You will see the first name stays there. The same way you can have this on the last name, the email, but make sure to pass the name attribute properly. So once that is done, let's just check the validation between these two. If I type 1 2 3 4 5 6 and some random values here and click on register, you should see the password confirmation does not match. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 1 2 3 4 5 6, and if I click register, you should not see any validation. 1 2 3 4 5 6, and of course let's just have this old so that it stays even after we refresh it. One two three four five six, 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Click on register. So let's just try all the values. I believe let's just remove these phases as well, so we don't have any. And the problem here is it should not be like confirmed. Instead it should be same password. So now this works. So after this we are going to use the model. So let me just import the model. So here I have imported the authentication class, I have imported the model user and used the hash so that we can convert the text password to hash based password, and we have a session so that we can communicate between two pages with the help of session. Now we are going to pass these data, input field data, into the columns. Firstly what I did is I got all the requests and stored it into the data. Now what we need to do is we need to access the input field name with the data, and this is the relevant column name and password. We don't need this date, and yes, we need this checked. Cool. We'll be getting the input field from this data variable and we'll be storing it over here. And once this is done, we want them to redirect back to the register page and with the message saying that registered successful. And now we need to catch this message in the register.php. Just below your button we can have a custom message and saying that if there is any session. If there is this, if the session has message, then get the message and go into the login page. Now if I try creating with my name and password 123456 123456, and yes, I accept and click on register. So if everything goes right, so we have first name does not have a default value, password, email. So I think we are not able to send the first name. Why is that? So the thing is, you need to get into the app models user, and here it has only 3 values. That's why it is only accepting 3 values. So we have to make them accept all the input fields. So we have first name, we have last name, we have email, we have password, and then we have is checked. And now if I try this again, 123456 123456, and click on register, you should see registered successful with a login message. And I think we can just have a simple text. We don't need this long style, and we can have this. We don't need this class. Now let's try one more time, and here let's just try it with John, and John at the rate gmail.com 123456 1234 1234, and yes, accept it. Click on register. You should see registered successful, and if you click, you'll be redirected to the login page. Now we have to do the same thing in the login. First of all, let's just set the route, and here it's going to be login submit, and the relevant function is login submit, and the name is login submit. So we'll use the action and just change this to login submit, and then we'll have the errors for validation. So we need to have name, email. So this is the validation for email, and this is the password field. So password, same way we can have validation. And now in the custom login, we'll be using the same function, but the function name would be like login submit, and over here we'll have validation, and here it's just going to be name and email, name and password. And once the validation is done, as we did, we'll take the request and get the email and password and store it into data, and we'll use the authentication class to check whether we are logged in or not. If it is logged in, this code will be run, and if this is not logged in, then we'll be redirected to login page again, and with the message saying that login failed. So we'll use the same code for just below our button. If there is any session, then display that session. And here in this case, we don't need any button. So if I type some random value, in this case UI monk is not registered, so let me try that, and some random password, click on login, you should see the message saying that login failed. Cool, that works. Now if the user entered the right password, then what should happen? So if the user enter the right password, then get, with the help of authentication class, get the ID. So if the user is logged in, and we can get the ID. So this is the ID. If suppose the John is logged in, so we'll get the 2. So with the help of 2, we can access the whole row column. So we can, with this ID, we can access use first name, last name, email and password just by writing this query. and I'm passing the ID which I have received, and with the help of find we will get the whole row data. Now we get the whole row data and we'll put this into the session. Why section? Because once it is at the session, we can use it on all pages of the website. If suppose your website has 5 pages, since this value is inside session, so these 5 pages can have access to that individual row, and once it is done, then we can redirect them to the home page. So by default, the home access, you won't have home access. So in the resources, in the views, in the home, so let me just, so this home will come from where? In the app, in the HTTP, in the home controller. Let me just close the middleware so that we can have direct access to the home. So if I search for home, since I have commented the middleware, I can have direct access to home. Now if I enter the right password, so I think it's 1234, and click on login, you should see I will be redirected to the home. Now let's just work on the logout. So for the logout, again we need to create a route. So let me give the name as login logout, and login logout, and here this view is coming from resources, views, and home.controller, no, inside layout, inside app, the search for logout, and here this is the route, and this is the action. Since we are using post, that would work, and we need to create the logout function in the custom login. And again here it's very simple, we need to use the auth class to log out, and we'll use the session to delete all the created sessions. And you can see I've used the auth class to log out, and I have deleted the session, and I am redirecting them to login page again. Log in log out is the function name, and if you click on logout, you would be redirected to the login page. And again, if I try to access the home page, I would have access to it. So to prevent that, we will need to create a middleware. So middleware creates the condition. So to create the middleware, we have a code. So let's just create the middleware, naming as login check. So the middleware is created. Middleware is found in the app, HTTP middleware, and login check. And now, just before this condition, we are going to check whether we are a logged in user or not. So to check whether we are a logged in user or not, we'll use this code. So just to give you a summary of middleware, when there is a request of a URL called home to the Laravel will give you the page called home, but in between there is a process called middleware checking. So when there's a request for home, Laravel will check the middleware if there is any condition for the home. If there is any condition, then it satisfies the condition, or if there is no condition, then Laravel will give the home HTML to the viewers. So here, before giving the home, I want the user to have a condition. If the user is logged in, then only show the page, or else redirect to the, so in the custom login, so or else redirect to the login page, or else you can make this return redirect to login page with the message on the login check. Where is login check? It's over here. Yeah, return redirect to login, and says that don't have access. Let's just say you don't have access. So this is the middleware part is not yet ended. So once you have created the condition, you need to get into the kernel. Inside HTTP, here we have kernel, and get into the route middleware and create a copy of this, and this is the class name and this is the nickname of the middleware. So we have to get into the web.php, and this is the nickname. Of course, we have to find which page should get restricted. Here in this case it's just only the home. Now we need to create a middleware route, so let's just create a route group. So here inside the route group we have to place only the URL which we want to restrict with the middleware login check. So here in this case it's just the home. So if I try to access home again, I will be redirected to the login page saying that you don't have access. Let me try accessing home again. Redirected to home, redirect to login page saying that you don't have access. And in the again in the condition you can again make this go to register page as well. And if I try to access the home again, I'll be thrown back to the register page and saying that you don't have access. Cool. Since that is I think the scope of this video is done. Thank you so much for listening. Let me try using this with UI monk 2 UI monk 2 at the rate UI monk 2 at the rate gmail.com. Password same, again same, accept it, click on register, and registered successfully. Let me just log in with the username and password I have created. Click on login. So now I'll have access to the home. So let me just log out and try to access the home again. I won't be able to access. So let's just check whether is checked this. Yes, you can see it's also working fine.